Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. If you're subscribed, thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. And please tell your friends so we can keep doing this. I'm noting some of the language that Trump is using, which is escalating against Greenland and Canada. Um, it's very concerning. I've seen others talk about this as well. This started out as just kind of sounded like some kind of a silly idea, like he was just talking and saying crazy things. It is starting to look a little bit more like this was always the plan. Whenever he starts talking very seriously, and when it's clear that he's not smart enough to come up with these strategic plans himself, he is working with other people who wanted to keep these plans secret, meaning Putin, Elon Musk, and the oligarchs. Trump was not talking about this during the campaign. This is among many of the one of the many things, or some of the many things that clearly were going on behind the scenes that they couldn't talk about during the campaign because even MAGA would say no to this. Even MAGA would be alarmed at this. So this wasn't something that just, wild hair up his rear and he decided that, oh, we're going to invade Greenland or we're going to annex Canada. This was part of a plan, a strategy, kept quiet, and something that he was in cahoots with other people who came up with the idea. Because again, Donald Trump is not a smart man, but he is an evil man. And he's willing to do things that seem unthinkable to the rest of us. And I think that's why we are in denial a lot. We still think that we can appeal to his better angels, like with he and Elon Musk, when we start noting, shocked as we should be, about how their plans are resulting in hurting a lot of people, ruining the lives, livelihoods, and the health, and in fact will result in the deaths of many people. They don't care. They don't care. And then we think that we can appeal to the better angels of MAGA who just don't understand because they're in a cult. Maybe some of them around in the margins we can, and of course you win or lose elections in the margins. But for the most part, a lot of these people don't care because they think that they're in on the con. They think that they're part of this oligarch crowd that's going to take over everybody and own the libs. They don't get it. They are stupid, but they're also evil. They know enough now to know that they probably crapped the bed in supporting Trump, and they're all over Facebook and they're owning the libs, and they still act like it's a tit for tat kind of a high school football game rather than being deadly. We are not descending into fascism. We are there, and they are a part of it, and they are supporting it. I don't know if we should argue with them, but I think we should just post facts and then, you know, I guess see what they have to say about it if you choose to engage them. I think the patriotic thing to do is cut them out of your life. So ask them, would they send their sons and daughters or themselves or their grandchildren to fight to invade Greenland? Let's just take it. The people of Greenland don't want to be a part of the United States. They don't want to be annexed. They want nothing to do with Donald Trump. So when he claims otherwise, he's lying. And he does that a lot. Oh, the people of Greenland want this. No, they don't. No, they don't. Especially when they see how Elon Musk are dismantling the greatest country in the history of civilization, dismantling us and selling us off for parts, taking a great economy, the Biden economy, and MAGA are still claiming it was bad. They can't say why. A lot of them are bots and trolls. A lot of them know they're lying. Some of them actually believe this crap. But we had the strongest economy in my lifetime, and I'm of a certain age. So it just doesn't hold water. And we know that Elon Musk wants Greenland and Putin. So basically, they want to do to Greenland what they're doing to us, crashing the economy, taking what they need, raping and pillaging, selling us off for parts, and claiming it's what the people of Greenland want. They don't. That is a lie. There's been polling, there's been quotes. I mean, they don't, it's just something that, of course, Trump made up. The other thing is Canada, and that one gets even more scary because they are directly to the north. He started out just almost like he was joking around when he would call Trudeau governor, that sort of thing, like, oh, they're the 51st state. This is utterly ridiculous. If they were, by the way, they would have as many electoral votes as California does, and they don't support Trump. So then he said he'll divide them into two states. He's talking about this a lot, a whole lot, to the point where it's not a joke. It's not just a wild hair up his rear that he's got about this. He's serious and he's escalating the talk. He's saying he's going to do it. He is saying that we have to invade Greenland. It is a part of our national security. No, it's not. They are not a national security threat to us. And you can't say, oh, we could use a lot of what they've got in order to strengthen our military, so we'll just go take it. That's not what America does, unless it's Trump and Elon Musk and Putin. And I don't know how you explain that to MAGA. They're too far gone. I think that best we can hope for them is when it gets to the point where they realize they've been had and that they've got blood on their hands, that they'll just go into hiding. They'll just shut up. They'll stay off Facebook. They won't talk about it anymore, that sort of thing. And that's fine too. We don't need Greenland for national security reasons. We don't invade and forcibly take over other countries and then think we're getting out of that and not calling it what it is, annexation. The way Putin has annexed by invading and bombing and taking over Ukraine. That's what Trump wants to do for Greenland. They don't want it. They've said they don't want it. They will fight it tooth and nail. So will our military do it? Will they do something that is clearly unconstitutional, immoral, in service to their dear leader? Will MAGA send their sons and daughters to invade Greenland, knowing that Greenland will fight back? Remember, everybody thought that Zelensky would be dead in 24 hours after Putin invaded Ukraine. We woke up the next morning expecting the news reports because people were openly saying he won't let, they'll get him first. And then there he was speaking to the world. 3 years later, there he is. Now, because of Trump, he's going to lose it all, it would appear. But he is the leader of democracy, as far as I'm concerned. Zelensky is, in Ukraine. So don't be such a smartass, Donald Trump. Greenland might fight back, and you might not like it. And they might get help from other countries. Okay? But will MAGA send their sons and daughters? Now we've got Canada. I think that Trump is going to look at Canada fighting back by imposing tariffs and cutting off. I mean, there's literally no travel to the United States for the spring break. I mean, we've all seen those photographs of the empty customs lines. So that's hurting the United States economy. You think that Trump is going to claim that's an act of war? He's looking for an excuse to invade. He's looking for an excuse to do to Canada what he's talking about doing to Greenland and what Putin has done to Ukraine and a whole lot of other countries, what Hitler did. So Trump is now talking about this, and it's serious. He means it. His language is escalating as if he has this right and an obligation. And he's simply going to militarily take Canada. And the reason I think a lot of Americans aren't tuned into this is because it sounds so absurd, because this is what America does. And people who are in tune to Trump are very concerned. I mean, this is Mike Flynn level craziness and, I mean, world domination crap. I mean, this is, I don't know how we get out of this unless we develop a culture in the military that, no, we don't invade Canada. We don't invade Greenland. Panama, what are we going to do? I mean, people are paying them off privately. You know, we know that. That's what crypto is. You know, a lot of money laundering, a lot of crashing of the stock market, and then they short, and then they buy, and the rich guys get richer. So there's a lot of that going on. But to militarily to forcibly take Canada and annex them, I think that there's a fire hose of chaos and everything that Trump is doing, but this is something that requires a lot more focus, a lot more talk in Congress. It still is mystifying to me why Democrats can't seem to get their act together to have a daily briefing, one person leading it or organizing it. Obviously, you bring in other people to help conduct it, but one, I've suggested Pete Buttigieg. He'd be the greatest, the best one, and he could use a job right now. Um, I think that since he's now said he's not going to run for governor of Michigan or the Senate, and I think that's what he had planned. He's made an announcement. I think he wants to run for president. I think we need him in this daily briefing, and it probably would launch him, certainly help him. Gavin Newsom would hate it. We don't care. He's now gone to the dark side by hosting the worst of the worst on his podcast, including Steve Bannon. There's no excuse for that, but it certainly does make the Kimberly Guilfoyle uh, ex-wife of his, that makes that whole situation makes a little bit more sense now. So Gavin Newsom has shown us that he's not morally or ethically up to the task, in my view. Tim Walz is out there saying he's going to Iowa, just south of him, to campaign and go talk to people in those Republican congressional districts where those Republicans will not where Republican members of Congress will not have town hall meetings. I think that's great. I think it also is a pretty big sign that he's got his hat in the ring for 2028. So I'm looking at Pete Buttigieg and Tim Walz. Kamala Harris will be running for governor of California. Gavin Newsom can go have a podcast with Steve Bannon. He's done. Rahm Emanuel is thinking of running. Okay. Okay, but I don't think he has a chance right now. Mayor Pete, Tim Walz, those would be my picks. I still want Mayor Pete to be doing the daily press briefings in the United States Capitol for Democrats. That's not happening. I think if he was asked, he would do it, even if he did it for a year to get this ball rolling. And he can go run for president. And yes, this would obviously help him in running. So be it. Great. When someone steps up and they're good at what they do, they deserve to be, top dog. And I think Tim Walz can be an amazing candidate as well. And there's a way for us to showcase all of them. But I think if Chuck Schumer and Jeffries picked up the phone and asked Mayor Pete to do this, say, do it for a year, then we can get somebody else, but you be the guy. Daily press briefings in the Capitol, I think he'd say yes. But I think the other 2028 hopefuls, plus Schumer and Jeffries and others, might be a little bit threatened by giving him that much of the spotlight. He would be elevated instantly and become the voice of the party, obviously, and the face, become famous, and all the great things that go along with that. But if it's not him, they still don't have somebody else, which is how we know it is, because they aren't doing it because it would be a threat to the Democratic leadership. We're in a situation now where we need leadership and we need a voice, because we have Donald Trump on a daily basis talking about the unthinkable, militarily, forcibly invading Greenland and Canada. There's too much going on out there for us to just be willy-nilly, little press conference here, someone does a podcast here, goes on MSNBC here. We need a unified voice to fact check this White House, to let people know what's actually going on, to coalesce around a few key ideas, and to showcase the other talent in the Democratic Party, or to help them develop talent. That if you can't explain this stuff and you can't get out there and fight it, then maybe your time has come and gone. Chuck Schumer. I don't expect Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to be the ones to do this. They can't. I'm talking about a position that's a full-time job. And somebody who can speak to the details of this stuff and speak clearly to the American people, to Maga, about what it means for us to launch war with Canada, Greenland, and to obliterate Ukraine. We don't have that. This reminds me I'm getting this feeling right now that I did when Merrick Garland sat on his hands and everybody's telling us, oh, he's dotting the I's and crossing the T's. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was selling us out. And that's how we have Trump. It's why we have Trump right now. And we were waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing happened. I feel that way now about the Democratic leadership, that at a minimum, daily press briefings in the same location and on Capitol Hill. There's money to pay for it. Each Democratic office can be assessed a little bit to pay for Mayor Pete or whomever, and a small staff, crack staff at that. There are rooms you can do this through the policy committee, some of the policy and steering committees you could pay for this. You can also get a room in the Capitol, a permanent room. And if Democrat or Republicans try and step in and stop you from doing that, even though it is in your budget and your rights, that even though you're in the minority, you can do that. A Democratic senator could give up their hideaway in the bowels of the Capitol building that a lot of the senior senators have. We don't need a big room. The press is built in because they're already there in the House and Senate press galleries, and many of them have been kicked out of the White House. If you move this over to the DNC or fund it differently, it's not their beat, and then it will be harder to get press. I've said this so many times, but we need somebody of the caliber of a Pete Buttigieg to be out there every day. Again, a full-time job. When you are the House Democratic leader or the Senate Democratic leader, you can't do this because you have another job. You can occasionally step up and do this, of course, but I'm talking about a dedicated full-time position, somebody who has the gravitas, the brains, name, the reputation to speak to this, because right now, people are already going to be dying because of Trump, but we are talking about invading other countries, allies, friends, neighbors. We don't have anybody out there talking about this. We do know that Trump sometimes reacts to poll numbers. Now, if he doesn't, then we know he's got other plans and isn't worried about poll numbers, but Republicans in Congress do. But if we're not fighting back, and again, I'm feeling the same way about Democrats not doing a daily press briefing to talk to the American people as I did when Merrick Garland did nothing. I'm having that same sense of panic and distrust and what the hell is going on here. And you should too, because we are getting ready, literally, to launch war against Greenland and Canada simply because Trump wants to take them. Trump and Elon and Putin want to take them. So I'm noticing the escalated language by Trump, the language of a madman that does track with Adolf Hitler. Yes, we make those comparisons because they are real. And we're doing nothing because we're tiptoeing around some 2028 hopeful egos, or the egos of Democratic leadership in Congress. And if it's not their egos, then it's incompetence, because there's no other explanation for this. None. We should be talking about this every single day. And what you and I can be doing is going to our MAGA friends and former friends and saying, you're going to send your kid to invade Greenland and Canada and die and get shot, because they will fight back. Are you ready to sacrifice the lives of your sons and daughters so Trump can invade Greenland and Canada? Because that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. He's already crapped all over veterans. So he doesn't care about the lives of the military. Take it to MAGA. And these should be the only conversations you have with them. Let's do this.